Welcome on Texas football. It's game day. We are literally, as we tape this, 7 hours away from the Longhorns taking the field against the Colorado State Rams. First game of the year. It is our Saturday conversation. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by lifetime Longhorn, illustrious DBU member, Chief Poobah of On Texas Football, Rod Babers, and the young buck, CJ Vogel. How you guys doing this morning? Y'all ready for some football?
I couldn't be more excited, Bobby. It's here. We've waited so long since New Orleans in the Sugar Bowl. As sad as that was, to the hypes of the spring, to the expectations of the summer, and now we're finally here. Can't wait. Take the ball off. Let me get some popcorn. I'm ready.
Recruiting kept us going yesterday with Jamie French's commitment. What about you, Rod?
No, man, I'm giddy. I got the butterflies going. I still get those this time of year, even though, I'm far removed from my playing days, but I still get the butterflies. Hopefully that's not the bubble guts. So I'm just feeling good, man. I'm excited. I'm giddy at this point.
All right. The Saturday conversation, guys, brought to you guys by Underdog. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Also, Yingling and Flight, our sponsor for game day as well. Guys, I got to tell you, this is going to be an interesting year. What we're going to do on Saturday conversations, we're going to give you almost like a prelude to what you might see on college game day. And what I mean by that, it's going to have a Longhorn slant to it. So we're going to cover Texas mostly on our Saturday conversations. Then we're going to talk about the rest of the SEC and point out a couple of key games and talk about that. And then we're also going to look at some national games that may have some bearing on Texas. Like, for example, we need to look forward a little bit this year to Fresno versus Michigan. That game may have an impact of how we look forward to next week's Texas to Michigan game. We're going to give you guys our takes on those things, talk a little bit about it. And get into them. So without further ado, now that you know the structure of what we're going to do, let's talk about the Longhorns and Colorado State. Longhorns right now, guys, 32.5-point favorites. The over-under of this game is 60. So you're really looking at a 45-14, 49-13 type game based on the over-under and the line. Longhorns prohibitive favorites. We talked to Kevin Lytle of the Coloradoan on Friday. He is the beat writer for Colorado State. He said that they have more depth this year. They're excited about their quarterback as well as their receiver group. Little concerned about their defensive line. It's a little thin right now, but he does think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit on these Longhorns. I'll go to you, Rod, first. What do you got for the Longhorns today against Colorado State?
I do think Colorado State will try to test the secondary. I think they'll break Tennessee, try to throw it deep a few times. Why wouldn't you if you watched the last few games Texas played against Washington and against Oklahoma State? But I think you brought up something I think is going to really determine or be a huge factor early on in the game. We're looking at that defensive front, the front six guys for Colorado State. Man, they're undersized and they're inexperienced. About 36 starts between that front six, and 3 of those guys have 0 starts. Really inexperienced. That's a bad matchup going up against the Texas offensive line. Big humans with a lot of experience. 4 of the 5 starters returning. And I think Texas wants to establish that run early and be able to control the game early and also get those running backs, their reps in before they start pulling those guys. I think it's going to safeguard those running backs a little bit in this matchup. So I expect Texas to own and control the line of scrimmage from start to finish, and I think that'll help control the game. Also limit the amount of exposure your defense has out there with some longer drives. So I expect the line of scrimmage to win the day for Texas, but that secondary will be tested. Torrey Horton's an NFL player, and if Braden Fowler-Nicolosi has cleaned up some of those turnovers from last year, they may be able to make some plays downfield against the Texas defense.
Hey, CJ, one of the things I asked Kevin Lytle, the beat writer, was whether or not, I didn't ask him, but what we asked was about the weather and whether or not the cramps, the humidity, that stuff is going to matter, especially when he said that defensive line was thin. If you think about it, if Texas had Cedric Baxter, Rod's recipe that he was talking about sounds really good, right? You have a bruising tailback and a big offensive line. Jaden Blue, though, and Trey Weiser, not so bruising. So it's a little bit different group. What are your thoughts overall, whether or not the humidity, that'll play into effect here, and just your general thoughts of the game?
Yeah, I know it's not supposed to be as hot as, the earlier weeks in August, right?
I was going to say that's relative in Texas.
90, 93, 95, whatever it might, it'll probably feel a little bit hotter, probably come the third and the fourth quarter for Colorado State. Of course, that's when you really expect that Texas depth to take that leap and kind of extend that game in my eyes as well. But to that defensive line comment, right? I believe Norvell mentioned Noor Gatkuth, the edge rusher for Colorado State, not expected to play this week. He's battling a bit of a turf toe, bit of foot injury right now. My question for Colorado State as a result of that is, where's their pressure going to come from, right? We talked about it last year. Muhammad Kamara was kind of their guy. He was the focal point, 17 tackles for loss, 13 sacks. Well, next to him, it was Gatkuth, right? 7 tackles for loss. He was that next guy up in the backfield when it came to creating negative plays. If obviously Kamara's gone to the NFL and Gatkuth is sidelined with a toe injury, where does their pressure come from? Where do their negative plays come from? We talked about how important it is for this Texas offensive line to return, to get 4 out of 5 starters coming back from 2023. Well, now this is the opportunity for them to get out to a very strong start to the 2024 season and get out with some really, really positive momentum as a result of what could be a down defensive line going into this Colorado State game. So I expect them to dominate the line of scrimmage, as Rod was saying, and get that running game going despite some running back injuries earlier this offseason.
All right. What are y'all's predictions? Just bottom line predictions. Texas cover, Texas not do it. There's some thought that, hey, maybe Texas takes its foot off the gas a little bit in the second half to rest those running backs. So maybe they don't. What are y'all's thoughts? I personally, I think I went with 42-13.
Ooh,
so
nice.
That was kind of my thought process in this game. What do y'all think?
I'm at 48-13, so you're close to me, at least on what the defense allows. I got them barely. They're right there close to covering. You said the number was 32, so I got them really close to covering that number. I like that.
What about you, CJ, buddy?
48-10. I think this is a game in which you don't see the offense very long on the field, but when Arch Manning does get on the field, you'll see him throw the football very often.
Yeah, that makes sense because they do want to – Sark's mentioned that. He wants to get him real reps, not just go in and hand off left and hand off right and punt, right? I mean, that is different because if you think about it, I was concerned a lot about the running backs and not putting them into play, but if you want to get Arch in there and get him some real game reps, which Sark said is a priority, is a big one. All right, coming up, we want to talk about A&M hosting the Fighting Irish, the old Golden Domers. Going to talk about that, but first I want to say thank you to our friends over at Underdog. Rob, will you do the pleasures of our newest sponsor, Underdog?
Oh, no doubt about it. Get in the game, folks. It is football season, and it is finally time for you to get in the game with Underdog Fantasy, the best place to play fantasy sports. How does it work? Well, it's really easy and really simple. All you got to do is download the Underdog app. I got it on my phone already. Downloaded yesterday and go online, and it takes almost no time. It's really easy. It's really simple. Playing their pick'em game. I can make picks. I can submit an entry. I can do it in less than 60 seconds, 90 seconds, or as you guys know, I like to do my research, or I can go deep down the rabbit hole, make up to 8 picks in a single entry to win as much as 325 times my money. That's right. A lot of straight cash home, and you got a chance to win with Underdog. Underdog adds a ton of excitement to the viewing experience, especially for football, which you guys know personally. That's why I love it. But they got other sports as well. And the best part is you can watch your progress update in real time. Today, Underdog is hooking us up for the start of football season. Go to underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code ONTexas for a first deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus a free pick. They also have an additional site-wide Travis Kelce free pick that you'll be able to take advantage of up until next week when they kick off the NFL game. So again, underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code ONTexas. Make sure you use that, and that way you'll get that first deposit offer of up to $1,000 and 2 free picks if you count that Travis Kelce free pick. So with Underdog, they're hooking you up. You're already getting hooked up before you even start playing with Underdog Fantasy. That's Underdog Fantasy, our choice and the choice for daily fantasy.
Good stuff, Rod. That's fun. CJ, you've been doing that stuff for a while. You enjoy that, right? Kind of gives you, yeah.
Get involved in this action. I'm with it.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, guys, let's talk Aggies and Notre Dame. The Aggies actually 3-point favorites, even though Notre Dame ranked higher. The Kyle Field generous 3-point edge there. Is that what we think it is? The thing I noticed about it, 2 defensive-oriented head coaches, Marcus Freeman and Mike Elko. The over-under is only 46, by the way. So they don't expect a lot of points to be scored. This Aggie season is very interesting to me because you have Mike Elko, who should do more with that Aggie defense. We all agree with that, right?
Yep.
He should be closer to extracting and maximizing it. And furthermore, that big-time recruiting class, what's left of it still, a lot of those guys were on defense and now are adults. They're no longer just young pups that are highly ranked. They should be actually graduating and developing, right? At the same time, Notre Dame's going to start a true freshman left tackle against Nick Scourton.
Yeah, good luck.
That in College Station, my over and under for him on having false start penalties would be 3. I mean, imagine being a true freshman and your first game is at Kyle Field against Nick Scourton, who's going to be a tremendous pass rusher.
Yeah, he is.
100,000 plus.
It's no longer college football 25's toughest place to play, Bobby. They dropped to 11, so maybe drop that down to 2. That might be the move.
So what do we think? I gave kind of my pitch. I think this is A&M's game to lose, even with Riley Leonard there. I think the Aggies should win this. I don't want to say going away or easily because I think they're going to stutter on offense, but they should have enough firepower with Connor Wegman, the running back game. I do like both their running backs that are still healthy. I just think they're going to have enough firepower to do away with Notre Dame, and I think Notre Dame lacks that, actually. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is going to be a defensive first battle, right? We saw the Vegas over-under, Bobby. It's actually funny for all the rumors in the offseason from message boards to Twitter about both teams possibly being a Big Ten, down the road. I mean, it makes sense with this kind of matchup, right? 46 points, give me a break. But the questions I have for Texas A&M are, one, can the offensive line hold up against what is expected to be a good Notre Dame defensive line, right? That's a big question there. And we've talked about firepower, but which of those Aggie wide receivers start to separate? They have talented wide receivers. They have 3 really talented wide receivers. Do they have a number 1? That's my big question for them right now. But again, I do think that defensive line with Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner, Nick Scourton, that is enough firepower for me to think that front line is won by the Aggies on the defensive side of the ball. And of course, Elko, knowing the tendencies, the strengths, the weaknesses of Riley and Leonard, it plays to having the favor going towards the Aggies in my eyes.
Jared, Rod, CJ, and I clearly picking the Aggies in this game. What do you got?
Yeah, I love the storyline of what's more advantageous, knowing they're being intimately knowledgeable of a scheme, which Riley Leonard is, of the Mike Elko scheme, or having intimate knowledge of a skill set, strengths and weaknesses of a player, which we know Elko has of Riley Leonard. I can't wait to see how that plays out. Right now, I'm going to give the advantage to the coach there. That is going to help out the coach a little bit more than it will the player. And I just think Nick Scourton is most people probably don't know who Nick Scourton is. We do because we do the deep dives. He's going to be a star. I think he's going to end up being a first-round pick and potentially one of the best defenders in the SEC. And this may be kind of one of the coming out parties. Guy's already a team captain. I mean, that's how you know he's sharp. He's 19 years old and a team captain on another team already, man. So I love that defensive front for the Aggies. Torian York's a hell of a player. You brought up Shamar Turner. I think defensively, Mike Elko is used to doing more with less. I think he's going to have a really good group here with the Aggies. Offensively, not sure what we're going to get from the Aggies, honestly, because Colin Klein, new offensive coordinator. I will say this, Connor Wigman, I think ultimately if he stays healthy and stays upright, he's got a really high ceiling, man. There are people saying he could be a first-round pick if he stays healthy and really reaches his potential. So I'm going to go with the Aggies here, man. I think the Aggies at home, they got they're going to have a lot of emotion in this game because, Texas coming back into the SEC. They know that's down the line, but they want to be a good team this year. Mike Elko's first season. I think they may end up with a hot start in the first half of the season. So I got them beating Notre Dame, guys. I got them winning this matchup.
Yeah, I do too. I just think it's too much going in the College Station is an advantage on game. There's no doubt about it. So give that one to the Aggies, I think. Let's talk about a couple more big ones in the SEC. Clemson goes to Georgia hosts Clemson. 12.5-point favorites for Georgia, number one ranked team in the country. Then we have Miami going to Florida. So Billy Napier versus Mario Cristobal. We've talked about that. Florida favorite Miami favorite in that game. And then on Sunday, USC LSU is kind of a sneaky game. We haven't really been talking much about because it's Sunday, so we won't talk about that much today, but that's a game to watch for sure. Let's start with Georgia and Clemson, number one team in the country. Kirby Smart could be smarting a little bit from being left out of the playoff last year. His own team got caught sleeping in the SEC championship game. Probably may have cost him another national championship.
Yeah. I like Georgia, and I like Georgia big in this game. It's a home game. I know it's played at Mercedes-Benz, but I mean, it's a home game. It's in the state of Georgia. It's going to be a game in which I think Georgia comes out firing. I think they come out quickly, and I think they keep their foot on the pedal against Clemson. Let's remember that they recruit a lot of the same area, right? There is deep recruiting history between the two schools, especially when Clemson was at its top. I think Georgia has more firepower on its front seven defensively than what a Tristan Lee or a Brennan Stool at right tackle can hold up for with Clemson. I think they're going to be a little bit overwhelmed. I'm not sure if they have the firepower outside at receiver to help Cade Klubnik, because that was a big issue a year ago. You kind of saw the miscommunications at time between Klubnik and those wide receivers. If they can resolve that, they might be in for a run at the ACC title. That ACC is wide open, but they're not going to have success against this Georgia defense who's looking to rebound and make a statement after falling flat, like you said, Bobby, a year ago. Georgia comes out, puts a show on, and I think they win by about 20-25.
Wow.
Ooh, wow. I do. I like Georgia, of course. I think that the quarterback advantage, Cade Klubnik last season, bit of a down season, but I agree with CJ. I think a lot of that's because the skill talent around him has actually fallen off a bit. I still think Clemson, lines of scrimmage wise, they're still, one of the better lines of scrimmage programs in the country. Where they're really falling off is at the skill positions. And I think you're going to see that's where Georgia separates a lot. Georgia's got a top 5 O-line. They got a top 10 D-line. So I think Clemson can match up, reasonably well there, but I think where Georgia's going to separate is at the skill positions and with their speed and with the play of Carson Beck. So I got Georgia. I don't know if I got him as big as CJ, but I got him winning, by a comfortable margin.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think Georgia wins. Here's my take on Georgia this year. If they're susceptible, I think they're actually susceptible on defense, which is completely separate from the way it's been, right? Even though they had a very powerful offense. I thought you saw Georgia show some chinks in the armor late last year on defense, and they graduated pretty heavily over there. And yes, they've got some good young players, but I'm not so sure that this Georgia team won't be a more opportunistic style of defense as opposed to a suffocating one.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And so Garrett Riley and the Lincoln Riley group, they actually do pretty good against non-suffocating defenses. Does that they pick and poke and prod? So Cade Klubnik, Austin Westlake product. We'll see where it goes there. All right, Florida hosts Miami. This is the game where would you want to be the loser of this game? Because you are immediately on a hotter seat than you're already on, right? Both of them come in with big question marks, Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal. They have big question marks right now surrounding their name. You lose this one, somebody is starting to light a fire underneath your seat a little bit. Miami is favored by 2.5. Is that right, CJ? I think.
Yes.
I see Florida winning this game because even though Cam Ward has more, is supposed to be this good player, I like Graham Mertz a lot comparatively. So I'm interested to see what happens. Where this is maybe one of the better toss-up games, in my opinion, in the SEC. Miami versus Florida. Rod, I'll let you go first this time.
Graham Mertz is more stable. There's no doubt about it. I think you have more stability, but there's more upside and a higher risk, high reward element to Cam Ward. And Cam Ward's on, guys. He is on. Problem is when he's off, man, he can spiral pretty quickly. Being careless with the football, being off target on a lot of throws. I think he's going to be on this game. First game of the season. I think the line's a scrimmage advantage, in my opinion. I think that may go slightly to Miami. And I'll say also the receiver, Restrepo. I think he's a really good player. So at least Cam Ward has a target. I'll go with Miami in this one because I think Cam Ward lights him up.
Oof. All right. Well, Bobby, I thought I'd be the only one picking Florida here. They're a home dog, 2.5. Give me that. Give me the plus money. Listen, one of two things, right? I do think the better quarterback is for Miami, right? Cam Ward is, I would say, undeniably a more talented quarterback than Graham Mertz, although Mertz, as you mentioned, very safe, right? Doesn't turn the ball over very often. He's an older, experienced quarterback. That matters in the game of college football. What matters more to me in this game is, yeah, both teams would like to win this game. Both coaches would love to win this game for job security, for season outlook, whatever it is. This is a cannot lose if you're Florida, because you know what's coming the rest of the season with this schedule. And you know what's going to come not too long from now against UCF and Florida State. And then, your entire SEC schedule. This game means almost nothing if you're Miami trying to make the college football playoff, right? You can still go. You can lose this game and go win the ACC.
You can win the ACC. You're right.
But if you're Billy Napier and you're the Florida Gators, for that entire season outlook to be a success, I don't think the college football playoff is not in the picture in my eyes. But what is a success is an 8-win season in which you look back at what's touted as the toughest schedule known to college football mankind. And you go out there and you win 2 out of 3 games, that's a success. You got to win this game. You got to take care of your in-state rival, and you got to do so at home. If Miami comes to the Swamp and puts on a beat down, well, what's the play for the season anymore if you're Florida? Because you kind of already see the writing on the wall. I like Florida. It's kind of that dog backed up into a corner mode if you're Florida, and that's a dangerous dog. So Billy Napier gets it done at home.
All right, guys, this is – That 2-1 there, Rod. You got outvoted, by the way. I'll let you know. You'll come back next Saturday. You can tell us if you were right or wrong on that one, buddy. Otherwise, I think we were pretty in lockstep, right? A little bit there. Also, tomorrow, USC and LSU. I just want to remind everybody they get going in Las Vegas for an intersectional matchup right now. That's LSU favored by 4, starting a new quarterback. Getting Jaden Daniels after the Heisman and early NFL pick. He's gone. 2 wide receivers gone. Garrett Nussmeier, though, can throw the ball around. We'll see if Lincoln Riley has his next quarterback after losing Caleb Williams. A lot of stuff there. All right. Otherwise, in the SEC, the rest of the games are versus directional universities, except for one. Vanderbilt plays Virginia Tech. We're not going to go into that one. But just know that's the only other SEC team that plays a Power 4 conference opponent. Wow. Vanderbilt hosts Virginia Tech. The other games that we're not going to really talk about much, Chattanooga goes to Tennessee. Old Dominion goes to South Carolina. I would not want to be Shane Beamer in that if you lose. And Old Dominion is typically talented at that level even. Then you have the battle of the Kentucky directionals. Eastern Kentucky goes to Mississippi State. Western Kentucky goes to Bama. 24 and 31 point dogs. Alabama A&M goes to Auburn. Furman goes to Ole Miss. That is the biggest spread of the week in the SEC, by the way. 42-point favorites for Ole Miss against Furman. Southern Miss goes to Kentucky. All right, before we go on to a couple of games that I think are of particular attention and attraction to Texas fans, I want to say thank you to one of our game day sponsors. That's Flight, the next generation of light beer with only 95 calories. It's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste and just 4.2 grams of carbs in each drink. Flight is an easy-to-drink beer with a very crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling. We were having that a little yesterday afternoon over at the Victory Lap. Appreciate those guys. As well as Faust Distributing for sponsoring Game Day with us as well. All right, let's talk a little bit more, guys, about our friends elsewhere around the country in games that matter. I mentioned Fresno, Michigan at the outset.
Like that.
This is a big one because it's going to be our first real viewing of the new Michigan quarterback. Our first viewing post Jim Harbaugh. Our first viewing of a new defensive coordinator. Fresno's not horrible. Yet, is this defense? My question for y'all is this: is this defense for Michigan? I talked about how Georgia's defense, I think, is going to be more opportunistic than suffocating. Yep. Michigan's defense at times last year could be suffocating.
Oh, yeah.
Are they going to be suffocating again this year? And what does that really mean? So if Fresno State comes out of this game with less than 10 points, that could mean that Michigan might have a suffocating defense. Now, Texas is a different story, right? Offensively, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm looking for in that matchup, to try to understand exactly what they have at quarterback and how good might this Michigan defense be, and will that affect the Longhorns?
Totally.
That spread's only 21, right? You look at the defending champions against the Fresno State, and you maybe expect that to be in the 30s, I would think, right? The change at quarterback for Michigan is going to be interesting. Is Alex Orji the guy? Is he a guy that you can rely on to score a lot of points? Is he explosive? He's a good athlete. How is he as a passer? We know Fresno State typically has good quarterbacks, right? Jake Haener, Derek Carr, some of these guys they've put out recently, they develop well at that position. Will they be able to sit back and throw the ball against the Michigan defense, who we know has great, talented interior guys, edge rushers, Will Johnson, obviously? That'll be interesting. Are they just praying and spraying down the field? That'll be interesting. But I do think Michigan pulls away late. I think that running attack just overpowers Fresno State. I think they cover. I do think we see multiple quarterbacks for Michigan. I think that maybe that job isn't as secure as it might appear come first or second quarter.
Interesting. Hey, Rod, what do you think about the whole idea of Michigan and their defense and where they're going to go this year versus last year, as well as what you're looking for from that game to kind of lean into what we might see next week?
I'm with you. I think you guys nailed it. I'm looking at that defense as well, just strategically, right? Scheme wise, they went from, Mentor, who is now the defensive coordinator for the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. So he took him with him. And then they went to McDonald, who is now the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And both of those guys are from the Ravens defensive system, which Wink Martindale was pretty much the godfather of that system. So they were running the Wink Martindale system the entire time we're there. They just tweaked their own more modernized progression versions of it. But now you're going to get the original kind of version of the Wink Martindale system, what they were running with the Ravens. So I think Wink Martindale system he's going to be a lot more aggressive. I'm looking to see in this matchup versus Fresno. This is a guy that led the NFL in blitz race, basically most seasons that he was a defensive coordinator in the league. Does that stick? Now that he translates to college, is that the same thing? Fresno is also known for having a lot of speed. Hell, Xavier Worthy's from Fresno. Torrey Horton's from Fresno. Fresno is just known, the city and the school. They're always known for having speed. I don't know where they get it from, but they're going to challenge Michigan with speed. So will Texas. I want to see how they adapt to that speed. Is Fresno able to make some plays, get behind Michigan? Because they can get behind Michigan a couple of times. And I know Texas can get behind Michigan a couple of times. And what's the run defense look like? Because if they have a suffocating run defense, like we assume they will with the best D-tackle duo in college football, then I wonder if Texas will they be able to run the football on the road versus Michigan? So I'm looking for that. And I think CJ nailed it. Alex Orji, our first look at the quarterback. They're going to be running a system very similar to what they ran when Sharon Moore was there as the offensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach. But the quarterback running game I wonder how much that's going to be a part of it with Orji. That's what I want to see, because that could be something that could throw a wrench in Texas plans. Remember, they played Jalen Milroe, and Alabama only had 3 design runs in that game where Texas played Jalen Milroe. Yeah. And all of us left thinking, why the hell didn't they run Jalen Milroe more? I'm glad they didn't, but why didn't they run him more in design runs? I don't think Michigan will leave that game with that same regret. I think they're going to run the hell out of Orji in that matchup on design runs.
Yeah, good stuff. I just want to see whether or not Michigan is a elite team on defense and what they do with their quarterback. I really Because Alabama was not an elite team on defense. Everybody was talking about Nick Saban and all that stuff, and they did have a lot of draft picks. Not going to take away from that, but they weren't an elite defense last year. Michigan could be a suffocating defense, and maybe the only one Texas has seen in a couple years, to be honest. All right, a couple other notes, games I wanted to mention. Penn State and West Virginia. I can't believe here I am. We're out of the Big 12, and I'm talking about West Virginia. I never thought I would talk about West Virginia, but this is a rare game. Penn State goes to Morgantown. James Franklin is not on the hot seat at Penn State, but he could be if he loses to West Virginia, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and West Virginia, Neil Brown seems to have turned that program around.
Yeah.
I just think this is an intriguing one. I don't think we need to talk too much about it because it doesn't have a huge amount of allure. But my point is Penn State, West Virginia. I put this one as kind of that upset special, if that makes sense. My eyes are on that one. Now watch Penn State go out and score 21 points in the first quarter, and we're all just waiting for the game to end. But what do y'all think? You have any thoughts on it, Rod or CJ?
I think that quarterback advantage is in West Virginia. I think Garrett Green's a better quarterback in that battle. Playing in West Virginia is tough. Texas has had to do it plenty of times, especially for a week one showdown. Like a marquee matchup against Penn State. I like the 8.5 if I was a betting man. So we'll see if I have credit by then. But no, I like the quarterback. I like that system that Neil Brown's kind of turned West Virginia into with the kind of ground and pound, blow the top off as a result. I like West Virginia to win that game.
There's supposed to be an offensive renaissance happening in Penn State. Remember Colton-Nicky, right?
Yep.
He's now the offensive coordinator there, who was the offensive coordinator with Lance Leipold at Kansas for so long. So they're going to bring a lot of those innovative, progressive concepts that Kansas runs to Penn State. And Penn State's got the talent, though. They got a ton of talent up there. They've always have. So I wonder if we're going to see a new version, new brand of football out of Penn State. And I'll give you props about Neil Brown. Remember last year, he was on the hot seat. He pretty much saved his job. And that's rare to see a guy on the hot seat save their job. So Neil Brown's doing a hell of a job of coaching.
Good stuff, Rod. Hey, and that's going to be the last game we talk about. But I do want to say one last thing. And this is for my friend, Major Applewhite, your friend, Rod, former teammate. He has his first game as a head coach at his newest gig at South Alabama. They host North Texas later today. So excited about that for Major and his group. Hey, Rod, tell people real quick about Underdog real quick, if you would, my man.
Yes, sir. It is football season, ladies and gentlemen, and that means our friends at Underdog Fantasy, they are the only place, the best place for fantasy sports. How does it work? It's really, really simple. All right, just download the Underdog app or go online. It takes almost no time at all. I already did. I got the Underdog app on my phone right now. It's simple. It's easy. Playing their pick'em game, I can make picks and submit my entry 60 to 90 seconds, or I can take all the time I want, dig deeper, go down the rabbit hole, make up to 8 picks in a single entry to win up to 325 times my money. That's right. That's straight cash, homie, folks. Underdog adds a ton of excitement to the sports viewing experience, especially for football, which is why I personally love it. And the best part is you can watch your progress update in real time. Today, Underdog is hooking us all up for the start of football season. Go to underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code ONTexas for a first deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash plus a free pick. They also have an additional site-wide Travis Kelce free pick that you'll be able to take advantage of up until next week's kickoff of the NFL season. So again, underdogfantasy.com. That's where you go. Use the promo code ONTexas right now for a first deposit offer of up to $1,000 and 2 free picks if you count that Travis Kelce free pick as well. That's Underdog Fantasy, our choice and the choice for daily fantasy.
Good stuff, Rod. Hey, and just a reminder for us, later today, we've got the Texas Tailgate. Jerry Hamilton and myself will be out at the Flat Creek Wine Garden that is now available between the north end zone of DKR and Bass Concert Hall. So right in that little area, that nook between it on the lawn, come out and join us. We'll be out there from 12:30 to 1:30, and we'll also be trying to bring you guys the ambiance of the game, of game day, if you have to stay at home or watch it on TV. So we'll hopefully be out there and see some sights. may have some special guests come on and join us. Then we have the watch with us at 2:15 today. That'll be hosted by Aaron Hogan. Rod, you'll be on that. Jerry will be on. I think Bob Shipley's going to join us. And then we do the post-game live, guys. Post-game live immediately following the game. Rod Babers, yours truly, Bobby Burton, as well as Brian Robeson joining us for the post-game. We're really excited about Brian. We had him on Friday morning. Rod, he just has a good take, kind of like you have that authentic take because you've been in the games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep, he's great. I love him.
He has that too, so it's good stuff. All right, that's going to do it for this week's Saturday conversation. That's the first week of the year. Can't wait for football later today. Oh, man. Let's get it going. CJ, thank you very much. Rod Babers, thank you very much. And to our producer, Matt Hutchison, we appreciate you guys. Hey, today, let's beat Colorado State. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.